Sometimes individuals form, I'll hold it. Sometimes individuals, is this better? Hello, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes individuals' forms are not correct. You can use your own form if you like, but if you use our form, you won't have any issues at all. So does everyone have a form yet? He's working with it. I can just put it around your neck. No, I mean I'm holding it. What I'm saying is it's not working. He can get me, so I don't know. Oh, you want me to hold the mic in addition to holding this? Oh. Okay. Hello? Testing.
I'm just going to turn it on for you now.
Testing. Oh. Testing. Testing. I got it. Testing, 1, 2. Okay. Well, let me start off. I'm bearing gifts. Let me say that again. Did everyone get a chance to look at it? There are some things on here that I've noticed that are not on some individuals' documents when they file them. You're more than welcome to continue to use your documents, but if it doesn't comport with what is needed, you may have to start over again, and no one wants to hear that. Any questions about the document first? On top is a sample of how to fill it out as well. Any questions about the document? Does it help you at all? Oh, I can go home then. So on this particular document, I think it's self-explanatory. Are there any questions? So I need to get, I don't have a little stand or whatever. I know, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to set my iPad. I'll try it. Thank you so much. Y'all mind if I sit? That I can hold the mic and the device and the iPad and flip through all at the same time. Okay. How many people are just getting into doing evictions and you've never done it before? Oh, awesome. I like y'all. I like the rest of y'all too, though. Okay. So a few basics first for everyone. How can you get an eviction? What would allow you to come to court to get an eviction?
5-day notice to pay or quit. 5-day notice.
Okay. Anybody else?
Somebody violated terms of the lease or non-payment of rent.
If the tenant no longer has the right to occupy the premises, if they fail to pay the rent, or if the term has expired for whatever reasons or any other reasons the landlord may suggest, that individual, the landlord, the landowner, has a right, or a third person on behalf of that individual has a right to request an eviction. Yes, there must be a 5-day notice that is given. However, what I want to share with you all as well is there are some proposed changes in the law. Has anyone heard about any proposed changes? And they're significant. They can change how you've been doing business for a long time. So I want to share the information with the newbies. However, I want to let all of the experienced individuals know that these changes may impact you. If you have any questions or concerns about them, you're more than welcome to call the individuals who's sponsoring the legislation to share your concerns about them. Okay, so I'll do it. How long do I have?
As long as you want.
Oh, Lord. Oh. They say never give a preacher and a judge a microphone, but okay, if that's what y'all don't give me any limits. Okay, so I suggest to everyone to try to find the Louisiana Civil Code of Procedure that specifically delineates what the law is. So, you ready? Write down 4701 LACCP 4701 et sec. I'm pausing because I see people writing. Okay. Louisiana Code of Civil Procedure 4701 and those that follow it. If you're going to come to Shreveport City Court or any court that allows you to evict an individual, it's very important that you read those articles. I can tell when people have read some of them, and I can tell when people just glance over them. And so it's important to read them, but just for your own business so you won't have any problems. Yes, and if you have questions as you go, please ask. Yes.
That covers the whole state, correct?
Yes, the eviction, yes, it's Louisiana, yes.
So it's the state.
Yes, Louisiana Civil Code of Civil Procedure, 4701 essay. So the ones that follow it. Some of the problems that I've noticed before me in Shreveport City Court is when an individual, I'm a former school teacher too. Some of the problems I've noticed when people have come to Shreveport City Court is when a third party is bringing an action on behalf of the landlord or the tenant, and they don't have a POA. What is a POA? What does that mean? That other individual can bring that action on your behalf. There have been people who have come to court, well, that's my relative of whatever, or whomever, and I don't know you to be related to that individual, so I would not have that information. So I cannot grant an eviction. And even if it's your mother, no offense to your mom, love moms, I'm a mom, but I don't know that she's your mom. So you have to have your POA or your agent's letter if you're with an apartment complex that allows you to proceed on behalf of that landlord or that owner of the property. Are you with me so far? So that's one problem that I have, that I've found in court. Sometimes people do not have their lease agreement attached to the petition. Your lease agreement must, your rental agreement or whatever this document that you have, it must be attached to your petition. Sometimes people will come to court and say, well, I filed it. When I look in the record and it's not there, the court can only go by what's in the record. I was not in the clerk's office when you filed it. So it's important to make sure that it's filed into the record when you first file your pleading. Hopefully you use the one that I gave you. Any questions so far?
Yes, you had mentioned for POA versus
Yes.
An agent. Can you sort of distinguish between the two?
It just allows the individual to proceed on behalf. Some companies have a POA. Some people have a POA. Some companies have an agent letter. It's only the language that says that person A can proceed on behalf of person B to handle the eviction. I mean, as relates to just law in general, people can have a power of attorney. They can have a limited power of attorney. They can have a general power of attorney. You can use that for your medical decisions, but that's not why I'm here. But yeah, so you can have a power of attorney for a myriad of different reasons. Some people want to make sure, you want to make sure that it specifically denotes what it's for, and if it's for evictions, evictions only.
All right, I got a follow-up.
Yes.
I guess it's an example.
Mm-hmm.
I was out of town, out of the country. I had an agent who represented me on my behalf.
Yes. In Shreveport City Court?
Yes.
Okay. In front of me?
Listed on the affidavit as well, that his name was listed there.
Mhm.
And the letter, he had a letter. Is that letter to attach to the affidavit as well, specifying that he's the agent to act on my behalf?
You have a letter that denotes that that person is your agent?
Yes.
The courts have accepted that. Many courts have accepted that. It's important for, I always suggest to everybody to know which judge you're in front of. And I mean that in the nicest way. Just like everyone here is different, just like your children are different from one another, judges are different. So it's important to know which judge you're in front of. And if you're sitting there, I suggest you don't go first. Then you can listen to what happens before you go. And I found that to help some individuals. I cannot give legal advice. Here I'm explaining the law, which we can do, but I cannot give legal advice in court. So you can ask me, I may want to give it to you, but I can't, yes.
So the information sheet that's supposed to be attached that you provided here, it's not sufficient to designate an agent, is that correct?
You're just writing it down.
If you have,
It
like
just-
on this information sheet, it
Yes.
says there's a place for an agent, if that gets filled in, is that sufficient?
No, ma'am, that's just our document that you're just filling it in so we'll know when the court is flipping through. That first sheet just gives us a quick synopsis of everything, but you need to have your document attached to it when you file, along with your petition. Okay? Any questions? I saw another hand. Yes, ma'am.
Does your agent letter does the agent letter need to be notarized?
No, it doesn't have to be notarized. If you want to pay a notary, that's up to you, but it doesn't have to be notarized. What about if you're the owner of the property? Nobody asked me that question. If you are the owner of the property and you're sending someone there on your behalf, what do you have to prove ownership?
Yeah.
Great answer. Your answer is not incorrect, but that was a great answer.
What was the answer?
Which answer?
What was the answer?
She said it depends on the judge. Great answer, yes. Correct answer, great answer also. Anything else so far before I move on? Is the information so far helpful?
Yes.
Yay. Okay. You can have a lease or you cannot have a lease. You can have an agreement with someone that's in writing or oral. You know that already, or some of you already know that, correct? If you come to court and the judge asks you, is this lease in writing or is it oral? It depends on your answer on how it's going to move forward. Some people would choose to not tell the truth after they're sworn in and say, because they can't find it in their mind, then they'll say it's now oral. That is not good. You just raise your hand, you were sworn in by the clerk or by whomever, you should tell the truth. If you cannot, the other side is, if you cannot find it and it's lost and you can't, Hurricane Katrina, you can't find it, or you moved and you can't find it, then that's different. You don't have to lie to say that now it's oral, because if the other person is there and they would say that they signed something, then it puts you in a quagmire because you've lied before the court. So I suggest that you do not do that. You always can, if it cannot be found, you've searched high and low, it was lost, the house burned down, I don't know, whatever the rationale was, please do not lie to the court, because you're looking at a whole different thing when you only went in there for an eviction. And it's not going to change everything unless you have some problems with that. So any questions so far? Yes.
Can we still use the 5A waiver in our lease agreement?
I can't hear you.
Can we still use the 5A waiver in our lease agreement?
Yes, we have one too. I suggest to everyone, if you want to go to Shreveport City Court, go to our website. We have forms on there. They're free to the public. Even if you're not doing evictions, if you have your iPad or your phone out, can someone go to Google and Google Shreveport City Court? But yeah, why don't everybody do that? And I'll walk you through the process. It just makes life, Shreveport City Court, I'm not talking about any of the other courts, but we try to make things easier for people. You don't have to incur some of the costs if you don't want to. There are many things that you can handle yourself. So I'll go through it with you. Y'all with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody's on Google, Shreveport City Court. If you go to our website, everybody's there? If I'm moving too fast, let me know. Google Shreveport City Court, click on where it says website. To your left side, you'll see Civil Division, Criminal Traffic Division, Probation, Court Rules, Forms, Documents. You all see where I am? Okay, take your time.
If you're on a cell phone, make sure that you're hitting the menu.
Yes.
Yeah, so you gotta hit menu.
Okay. You with me? Need more time? Where it says Forms and Documents, click on Forms and Documents on your left side. There are a litany of forms. I know y'all didn't ask me for this. I'm just going to throw it in because I'm nice. You see all the types of forms that exist? And you scroll down. If you know somebody who needs an expungement, the form is right there. You just saved somebody a few $1,000s. Don't tell all the lawyers I said, hey, they take that part out. So you keep going. Of course, if you want to do small claims is there. Our Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act is there. Just a myriad of forms. And then you can see our eviction forms that are right there as well. So if nothing else, I came and showed you where the forms are and forms you didn't ask for, and it saves you money already off the top. So you just got here, Shreveport City, go to Google Shreveport City Court. Is anybody not able to find it.
Depending on what you're using, if it's Chrome or whatever. If you're using Chrome, go all the way to the bottom of the page and you'll see a
But
list.
see, I told them to use Google. I ain't say Google Chrome.
Y'all using Microsoft, I apologize.
If I type in Shreveport City Court, when you see that, go to our website. When you get to our website, look to the left side, you see a litany of things. You with me?
Yeah.
And then where it says forms and documents, click on that. And then you see all of our forms. So in addition to that, on our website, we also have what's called a guide to practice. That's on our website as well. So if you have questions about what happens in Shreveport City Court, that's explained for you. So you can go back and then you can find that in there. It's highlighted. All of our filing fees are listed on our site as well. So if something happens, you'll be able to get our filing fees as well. Any questions so far?
How much is the filing fee?
For,
An eviction?
I think it's 81, 86. I don't know. I don't deal with that. Oh, and they may have gone up. I don't know. I'm not in the clerk's office. I have no idea. Okay, they say it's 106. I don't know. But if there's more than one defendant, you have to pay an extra fee for that. I believe that may be $30. I don't know, but you can go on our site where it says filing fees. I don't deal with filing fees, so I'm sorry. So let's go back. Any questions so far?
You said that if you pay extra for each defendant, so like, if there's more than one person on your lease, you need your name.
No, I didn't say that. If you want to serve more than one defendant, you have to pay for service of each defendant.
I got you.
Right.
Can you have multiple reasons on here that you're filing the eviction?
Yes, I'm going to get to that. But yes, most people file for non-payment of rent or violation of the lease, or there's some problem with the tenancy while they're there. I've had a few that there were a number of criminal cases that were pending. Individuals went to jail. There was criminal activity that they could prove. Of course, you need to have evidence to prove what it is, whatever you want to prove, you need to have evidence, okay?
So if it's a multifamily and duplex, triplex or something, and the other tenants are complaining about that.
Whatever it is that you need to prove, if you have other people that can corroborate it, but essentially your basic information is contained in your lease agreement, correct? And so you should put on your pleading what paragraph you're referring to for the court. You don't want to have the court flipping through. Some people have a 2-page lease, some people have a 22-page lease. And so if I'm dealing with 60 people that day, then I can't flip through. I mean, I could, but it's just easier if you put that down there. If you have a provision that says there's a waiver in the lease, put that on the first page. There's a section on the form that I gave you. The things that you can put on the document that I gave you, it helps things to move quicker. For me, I think the judges have decided to do about 20 or 30 a day. Have y'all seen that when y'all have gone to court, to Shreveport City Court, about 20 or 30 people? I do 60 people. I do more, and sometimes I do more than 60 because I care about all parties that come before me, but I understand when you need to get somebody out of your premise, you don't want to have to wait another month because the dockets are full. When I first started working here at Shreveport City Court, the dockets were backed up. I don't know if y'all know that because my predecessor had passed, so there was a backlog. So I decided to do anywhere between 60 or 80 every time I was in court, because I wanted to help to move things along for people. But that's what I do. I can't speak for anybody else. But 20 or 30 is a lot, let me just say that. But I try to move them as quickly as I can. Any questions so far? Okay. Oh, Lord. Yes.
I don't know, this is not the first one, it's a statement. I
Okay.
went on that website, and there's an eviction tab, and there's a link to a database that has a synopsis of the eviction proceedings. For example, I was interested in trying to find out whether or not potential tenant had any prior eviction. Of course, they gave me a block number. But when I went to that database, their name popped up in that particular database, and they gave a brief synopsis of her prior eviction. So there is a link to evictions on that website that can give you a database. Some people charge you for their information.
Oh, no, Shreveport City Court, we streamlined everything a lot to help all people. If you all would spend some time on our website, it would save you a lot of money. be it in attorney fees and other fees, or even on your own. It just saves you a lot of money. There are some things that you can do on your own. I always suggest to people, before you rent to someone or lease your premises, it's important to know that this person has gone to several other people in the room and they didn't fulfill their obligations and they had to be evicted a number of times. Wouldn't you like to know that before you decide to rent to somebody? So it doesn't cost you anything just to go to our site. When you, on the same side on the left, are you still on your site? It says civil. You can click civil, you go there, you put the person's name in, and then it'll spit out all cases. If you want to be nosy and find out about your neighbor, you can do that too. I find that people want to do that. But you can put anyone's name in the search engine, and whatever happened in Shreveport City Court or what's pending in Shreveport City Court will show whatever that's attached to that person's name. So, I know some people like to just find out about their neighbors, so that's there too. Or you can just use it for your own business.
How far back does it go?
Oh, geez, I don't know, but I mean, there's nothing I couldn't find. Oh, it's way more than 5 years. Way more than that. Way more than that. I don't want to say before I was born, because then everybody gonna try to figure out how old I am. Okay, some people, you heard that? They didn't hear it. They didn't hear it. I wanted to be a comedian, but my mama made me go to college. Yes.
Most of us have this waiver of the 5-day notice in our
Yes.
leases. I understand this new legislation is intended to.
I'm
strike
coming.
that.
Yes. Yes. Y'all want to jump to the new stuff, or you want me to finish for the? Well, it's not necessarily new yet. It's proposed. So if you all don't like it, or if you like it, you should call your legislators to tell them you like it or you don't like it. It's up to you. You don't.
That's what you mean.
Wait, let her get to it. Let her get to it.
Okay. So the lease is for a fixed term or it's not for a fixed term. You have two choices, or it goes into tacit reconduction. Does anyone have any questions about tacit reconduction? Oh, we good on that? Okay. That means month to month, just in case you didn't want to raise your hand. So that means if the term has ended or you're in tacit reconduction, it's not a 5-day notice. You're aware that it's not a 5-day notice? It's a 10-day notice in those cases. Now, I'll put this down. So to the new stuff, we just had a seminar recently. It's Senate Bill 28, if anybody wants to write it down, Senate Bill 28. And let me just, instead of reading the whole thing, I'm going to tell you what the present law is, and then I'll tell you what the proposed law is. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. So the present law, you ready? Senate Bill 28. Present law, relative to residential leases, provides for dissolution of lease for lessee's failure to pay. Proposed law, so the other one you already know. If not, you should know it. Proposed law provides that a lessor shall not dissolve the lease for a lessee's failure to pay unless rent remains unpaid for a period of 10 days from the date the payment is due. What? I didn't hear any shock when I said that.
That's a lot.
Oh, thank you. I got a little shocking statement. Thank you. Somebody's supposed to go, what? Anybody want me to repeat it?
How do you do a 5-day notice?
Please.
Oh, you're talking about the current law. You're talking about the current law. This is the proposed law. I repeat, the present law relative to residential leases provides for dissolution of lease for lessee's failure to pay. Proposed law provides that a lessor shall not dissolve the lease for a lessee's failure to pay unless rent remains unpaid for a period of 10 days from the day payment is due.
Rent's due on the 20th.
Y'all got me?
Yeah.
Proposed law, do you like it?
No.
Do you love it?
No.
Call, thank you. Call somebody. Who should you call?
Your legislature.
This is a Senate bill. Okay, the proposed law provides that the lessor may immediately dissolve the lease by giving written notice by the 10th day if the lessee fails to pay rent. Proposed law provides if lessee fails to timely pay the rent on another occasion, y'all heard that part?
Yeah.
Within a 6-month period, lessor may immediately dissolve the lease by providing written notice. Change in the law. Proposed change in the law. I repeat, the law has not changed today. I believe the session will end at the latest on June the 8th, I believe, somewhere in there. So y'all have time if you want to call somebody. Present law provides that the notice of termination in a month-to-month lease shall be given at or before 10 calendar days before the end of the month. You already know that. That's the present law. You ready? Y'all ready for this? What is it? Proposed law provides that the notice of termination in a month-to-month residential lease, again, residential lease, shall be given at or before 30 calendar days before the end of the month. Happy about that?
No.
Proposed law maintains present law for all other leases. That's just your residential, okay? Okay, here we go. Present law provides for a notice to lessee to vacate. Proposed law retains the present law and further provides that a notice to vacate shall state the reason for termination of the lease. Non-payment, violation of the provision of the lease. If you're going to do a violation of provision of the lease, put which paragraph you're referring to and be able to articulate that to the court. I've had individuals that would say some things that's inconsistent with the paragraph in which they referred me to. Please, I suggest read your lease. When's the last time you read your lease? I don't know, never. 1, 2, 3 people. You should read for a couple hands just because they want to be left out. Please read your lease. If you're going to come to court and there is an issue with a provision of the lease that the individual has violated, know what it says. Okay? Because if you say it's in 6, I'm going to look at 6. If it's in 12, why would I go to 12? You don't even know your own lease. Right? I'm not fussing at anybody. I'm just saying. Questions so far?
Kind of going back to the
Yes, ma'am.
I had a while ago. So say I'm in there for,
I didn't hear you.
say that I'm in there because the other neighbors around there
Mhm.
are complaining about their music's loud, whatever.
And there's a provision in your lease that refers, okay.
That's disturbing the peace.
Mhm.
And I show you that, or I put it on here. Do I have to have any other proof as far as like letters or text messages from the current?
What's the answer to that?
Yes,
What's the answer to that?
yes.
What did you say earlier?
It just depends on the judge. It depends.
It never hurts. It never hurts. I'm all about evidence. It never hurts to have more than to go in, excuse me, with not enough. So if you have a tenant who can testify, I know that's hard sometimes because people work, but you should have some documentation in your file. You should have some notice that you sent out. You should have advised them that, you know, you've done whatever, blah, 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 in violation of the lease and failure to, I don't know if you're going to give them an opportunity to correct it or not. That is up to you. If you don't do this in such amount of time or you do this again, you've given them a warning, you've given them 2 warnings, and here's your 3rd time. Essentially, that's what happens when people come before me. They've given them notice as opposed to doing it the first time. And then somewhere around the 3rd time, or I guess when you can't take it anymore, that's when you go ahead and proceed. Or an individual does, but that is entirely up to you and up to the court if they think that is enough. But you always want to try and give someone notice, because inherent in the law is notice and opportunity to be heard. Okay. Questions? Okay. Where did I leave off? I'm getting old. Let me see. Oh, okay. Present law. This is important and interesting in and of itself, so I'm going to slow down. Present law provides that a notice to vacate may be waived by a written waiver provided in a lease. Present notice provides that a notice to vacate may be waived by a written waiver provided in the lease. Proposed law, y'all listening? Retains present law and further provides that the written waiver of notice to vacate shall not apply in a residential lease unless lessee's failure to perform affects the health and safety of the lessor or any occupant of the premise or adjacent property.
Question.
Prove that.
quick question.
Can you pause it for a second, please? Please pause it, for real, pause it for 1 second.
We're gonna have to edit around this one.
Yeah, pause it for 1 second, because I know this is gonna be conversation. Okay. We good? Let me know when we're good. And further provides that written waiver of notice to vacate shall not apply in a residential lease unless lessee's failure to perform affects the health and safety of the lessor or any occupant of the premise or adjacent property. Now, you may want to call before you answer the question, maybe you may want to call your legislator to ask them to explain that to you if you like. Before you ask me the question, you may want, because I didn't write it. I'm sharing it with you. Of course, I discussed this. We had a meeting for the city judges last week out of town, and some of us discussed certain things, and certain things may or may not make sense to us. Some people try and find a rationale behind it. Yes, now what is your question, given what I just said?
So could you give me the legal definition of health? Does that encompass financial health? Because at that point, I'm like, no, you're hurting my money, so get out.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
Okay. Fair
Didn't
enough.
write it.
Yeah,
You
fair
don't want something to be so convoluted so there has been a call or two, I think, that has gone in for for clarification on this modification by some people that I know, a person or two that I know. So this is what it is right now. How that is going to play out at 1244 Texas Avenue, I don't know right now. Some people know the address, some people don't.
Is that a Senate state, is that a Senate?
I can't hear you.
Is that a Senate sponsored bill also?
Oh, yes, it's the same bill, 28. Do you know your senator? If not, this is the time to get to know your senator. If you're dealing in this area before this time period is up. Okay, so let me see. Somebody said something, well, I don't remember all the things they said. Proposed law provides that in exceptional circumstances, the rendition of a judgment of eviction of a residential lease, provides that in exceptional circumstances, the rendition of a judgment of eviction of a residential lessee may be delayed. This is important. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Not to exceed 7 calendar days. What does that mean? I can explain that one. What does that mean? Anybody?
It's up to 7 days after the court judgment for eviction to stay in the property for
Yes.
7 days.
The current law is what?
24 hours.
Not all of them. 24 hours. I found when I first got, we still on pause?
Sean, we're still involved?
No, I'm positive.
Oh, pause it one more time.
Just keep your hand.
Answers.
So I was, one of the agents on my team had an eviction, I guess about a month ago over in Bossier.
Mm-hmm.
The Bossier judge gave the tenants, even though they were defaulted in rent for 3 months, gave them an additional 3 weeks to either pay or then be put out of the property. How is that legal? And just,
You want me to answer that while the...
Without knowing all the details? No.
I should have said no when you asked me.
So I'm just wondering, like.
Only thing I can say is I follow the law.
Yeah, so, all right, is there an appeals process?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so could you speak to that towards the end?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I don't know when the end is because they didn't tell me a time, but yes. Yes.
I mean, we can wrap it up whenever you get tired.
Question so far? Are you happy about the proposed changes?
No.
Are you mad at me?
No.
Okay, good. Because now you have the information that you can do something about it before it's too late, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Is there a place we can go to look at all of these changes?
Yes. Go to the state's legislature site, legais.state.la, something, whatever like that. Just put in Louisiana State Senate Bill 28. And then once you see that, it'll pop up, then click that one. Okay, questions? Or I can just send it to you now. What would you like? What's your email address? No? No. Uh-oh, it's going slow. Oh, you don't want to say it out loud? You can just come type it in. Okay. That's what I thought. or who?
They can email it to
I was about to say, or who?
If you give it to them in the back, they'll email it to the whole group.
Okay, which,
Oh, yeah.
I'll write it down.
You want to?
thank you. You
There you
can,
go.
then y'all can have it all. And then the,
There's a backspace on this.
yeah, right there, XX, right there. What's your email address for the organization? Or yours, or whatever?
SBREIA.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not typing.
At gmail.com.
That's too fast for me. I'm old.
SBREIA LA at gmail.com.
Ms. Bertha, would you pass my water up, please, if you don't mind? It should be on the table right there. It should be on the table. It should be on the table. Oh, I do. I'm sorry. Thank you. Would you, if you don't mind? Thank you. Sorry to bother you. Thank you so much. Questions so far while we wait?
Sounds like the lease is gonna have to be modified.
Yes. I was going to bring you all some sample leases that are at the courthouse, but given the proposed changes, I don't know that that would be appropriate now.
So if that bill is passed and you have a lease that violates that, it nullifies that part of the lease.
Or you, since you have the information now, modify your lease. You can just X
Yeah, I'm
out,
just
X
thinking about
out.
somebody that's already in a lease.
Uh-huh.
Is it retroactive on that lease?
There was no discussion with regard to that, but usually laws or go forward.
All right.
There was no discussion in the bill, but usually they go forward, they don't go backwards. Questions so far? Yes, sir.
Is there a time frame
Thank
after
you,
the
sir.
person vacates the property that you can file a claim for back rent, et cetera? Because they don't usually go and rent a property right away where there's going to be background checks, where I could go and look them up again. Is there a time frame, 3 months, 6 months?
I don't know if you mean look them up again.
Well, doing
Oh,
it
if they
right-
left you and rented for somebody else?
Yes.
And they had others? You can always go to our site to do that. However, if they owe you for whatever, you can file some people file in small claims court, so they don't have to pay in a lawyer, but you have to have your evidence. So what's important is that people be able to prove their case. And sometimes people haven't been able to prove their case.
I can't find this person, unless I'm gonna go back on the background and credit check and locate where they are. You probably think I just forgot about it. So I can look them up there and find their new address. Because you have to have an address in order to.
Absolutely, you have to have an address, or you can appoint a private process server, or you can have an attorney appointed on behalf of that absent or whatever that defendant, whatever the definition of that defendant is. And that attorney will be imported with the duty of finding information on that person, whomever that person is. They'll they'll post something in the newspaper. They'll do a Google search. They'll go online. There are ways of finding people now. But if you do if you find your grandchild can probably find the defendant. I'm pretty sure. The children know how to go on social media to find somebody. I'm telling you, it's easy. It's not hard. Any of the social media sites that you have, because depending on the age of the person. My children tell me that only old people are on Facebook. I say, well, I'm on Facebook, and she goes. Thank you. But most of the younger people on Instagram, on Snapchat, you can find them in other places. I don't know that I agree with my child, but if you listen to her, then they're my age. Look over here. You're very welcome. Let me close my Facebook page while I'm sitting here. Yes, ma'am, you had a question?
I was going to ask you, you have a financial judgment, you're referring to eviction, is there an expiration date on it?
Financial judgment for non-payment? You can sue them for whatever that's owed, preferably sooner than later, because otherwise you're going to find a problem in finding the defendant, like he said.
Or if you already have that judgment?
Oh, you have a judgment, okay. So you have to renew the judgment or revive the judgment, which is what it's called, within 10 years from the date of the judgment. But you have to revive. But if you go to our website, there is some forms that deal with that on our website, then you don't have to worry about it, okay? Any questions? So the other thing that I want to respond to you, sir, was proving the damages. Some people don't come to court with the damages. I can't tell you all to take pictures, but it's 2019. If you don't take pictures now, I don't understand why you're not taking pictures. Because you can testify that this is how the place looked when they left, and they can testify that's how it looked when they moved in. Who is the trial fact going to believe? I don't believe one person over the other. Everybody is equal to me, but I can only speak for me. Everybody is equal to me. So you have to be able to prove your case. If you're in the position to prove your case, this is you're the plaintiff, the burden is on you. So take pictures before, if you want to. You have your phone. Now it's important that there's a date that's attached to it so I can know when these were from, because you may have remodeled this place 2 years ago. These are your pictures from 2 years ago, right? So you want to make sure that it's a point in time in reference. If you print it out, you have to lay what's called a foundation. If you took the pictures, then you took the pictures. If someone else took the pictures, I need to know that that person is there to say that they took those pictures. But you may have a maintenance person, you may do it yourself, your office person, I don't know who's doing it. So that person will have to say that this photograph was taken at whatever point in time that it was. Yes, sir.
Would you accept if I take a video and I walk through and I just say what the date is as I'm walking through?
Would I do it? I can only speak for me.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Any questions?
Show you the.
Yeah, it has to be date. He just said it's going to show the date, right?
No, I verbally say the date.
Oh, no. I don't know that that's the date.
How do you put a date on the name?
No, if you have, this is 2019, everything has a date on it, unless you're using something from 10 years ago. Everything now has a date on it.
The date it was saved as a file.
Oh, okay, that is, and then you have to bring it.
Yeah, everything you can do now has a date on
Your
it.
cell phone.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
all
just right
it's
there.
coded on your cell phone.
There's no way you can, well, there is, unless you're using something my mom has, you know. She was born in 1941, so my dad was born in 1916, don't judge me. I'm here. You got that, huh? I'm happy to be alive. Any questions? Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you include late fees in your judgment when you claim small claim loan is not over $5,000?
You would have a copy of your lease agreement, I presume, attached to it?
Yes.
And then when you do your petition, it would delineate everything that you're requesting.
Thank you.
And in your petition, your lease agreement, I presume it'll say $5 a day, or I don't know what it says. Right. So you would break that down too as well.
I've got a question. We bought a piece of property. The house was already occupied, and the seller transferred the lease agreement to us.
Mhm.
And we sent them a letter.
Mhm. So far, so good.
So the terms, and we sent the tenant a letter explaining that and said that the current lease is still in effect.
Mhm.
So if, let's say we would go to evict them,
Mhm.
have that, all that information, that lease would transfer over to us, even though it's in a different, under a different name, but we have the paperwork proving that we purchased the property.
If it transfers to you and you have your evidence, then evidence is what's key. Everything in writing always works, but everything you said so far sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
As a follow-up to that,
Yes.
just because I've heard it from 15 different sources, I'd love for a judge to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
I buy a property, the leases transfer over, however, I don't like the way that their lease is worded. I'm
Yes.
comfortable with mine. It's not recorded at the courthouse. Can I require the tenants to come to my lease?
Mm-hmm.
So long as the terms and conditions such as the price of rent and all that stay the same.
What would be the additional terms?
Essentially, the 5-day waiver would be put into the lease, or my lease.
Yeah,
We've had
okay.
them to where they would.
You have a waiver in your lease?
Yes. I
Okay.
would have the waiver in my
And no
lease.
5-day notice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they didn't have it in theirs.
Mhm.
So just some of those terms to change over.
Mhm.
Can I legally require that now that I'm the owner?
What is the term of the lease hypothetically in your situation?
Hypothetically, let's say a year and they're 2 months into it.
Oh. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I can speak for me. I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay.
But you can end the lease for a number of reasons. So if another person acquires the property and they don't want to maintain that individual there, then they have grounds to still terminate the lease, but they have to give proper notice.
I just
So,
hear
so if
50
you
different
decide,
voices,
if you
so-
decide to take that option to terminate it and then allow them to start anew, then that would be up to you.
Okay,
You see the difference?
yeah.
It's slight, but, you know.
Well, that's why I prefer to buy vacant. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But, you know, half a dozen. Questions? Going once, going twice. Have I taken up enough time? That's you, but everybody else may not feel that way. I used to think that way when I was teaching math. I used to teach Algebra 1, Algebra 2, probability and statistics, and trig on the side. And I wanted to keep going, and the children went. So I see your smiling faces, but if you look.
So really, Senate Bill 28 is one we ought to concentrate with our state senators if we have a problem with this, because all this encompasses under the Senate Bill 28.
Yeah, the stuff that we're talking about now, not when I started off. When I started off was actually the law at the time, currently.
Right.
Yes, yes,
But this is proposed law.
yes.
28.
And the session, I believe, ends on about June the 8th. And so that means it's this much time you have left to bombard them with calls. You know, if you choose to. I can't tell you to do that. It's up to you. Yes, yes,
If we want
yes.
to get a money judgment for somebody who we evicted, then we have to file a separate lawsuit? We can't do it as part of?
Not in the eviction, no.
Okay.
But if you don't want to, you can do it in a small claims court. You don't have to pay anybody. The amount of controversy used to be $3,000. Now it's $5,000. In Shreveport City Court, I think it used to be $15,000. But I personally went down there and requested that it be increased for our regular civil docket. So now it's $35,000. You're welcome.
Thank you.
It was one of the first things I did when I was elected. Yes.
Judge, I have a question. If you won the case in court and judge, and the person either quit their job or lose their job,
I'm sorry?
they either quit their job or get fired, what can you do about the award? Salary award is $5,000.
And in eviction?
In eviction, no, not an eviction.
Oh.
Back with judgment.
From an eviction? Because you know I'm only here for evictions.
Only with eviction?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Because see, if I answer that question, everybody else has other I'll be here all night.
Would you review my lease?
I know. Is this acceptable? And Shreveport say, yes, ma'am.
So if you have a judgment and they no longer have a job,
Mm.
wait.
You wait till they get a job or an asset.
Can you like put a lien against their?
Yes. Yes. That's the purpose of the judgment debtor rule. That's the purpose, and that form is on our site as well. You're welcome. Yes. I thought I saw another hand over here. Only eviction questions. Yes.
So, for people, because I had to learn the hard way, actually with you.
Oh, yay.
And I can tell you this, first off, thank you, because you only made me better, right? So what we did, we had a tenant, and I'll go ahead and stand up and tell y'all. We had a tenant that she was a nuisance. She would get drunk.
Not me, the tenant now.
She would get drunk, and she would actually go and antagonize the neighbors in a sixplex that we owned. And whenever they would get enough of it, and then they would call the cops, she would run inside, turn off the lights, and not answer the door. So what can cops do in that situation?
Kick in the door.
Call us if she comes back, right? So that's all it is. Well, the tenants came and they kept writing me about it, and I'm like, look, I'm not a referee, I'm not here to do all this, y'all call the cops. Well, it just got to the point to where every night it was something else. So we called and we actually wrote a letter of correction that she's been in violation of the lease, gave it to her, and that held up for about 2 weeks. And then here she comes again on the sauce. So, at that point, I had every tenant that was affected write a letter to me, and I attached copies of it, sent it all in. Guess where I made my mistake? It wasn't actually recorded. So they didn't give a, affidavit, yeah.
You mean notarized?
Yeah, it wasn't notarized or anything. They just wrote.
You don't
the
mean
letters.
recorded?
Yeah.
You don't mean recorded? You
No,
mean
no,
okay.
not yet.
Okay.
So they didn't actually give a sworn statement. It was just a letter that carries no weight. So she told us, she said, you can have this all day long. I don't know who it's coming from because they haven't sworn in, they haven't come before me. And at that point, I'm like, well, also at this time.
Because all of you all could have written a letter for him, and you could have signed your name or their name, and I don't know who it is. But you have hearsay rules and everything. It's a whole
exactly.
bunch of other stuff.
And fair enough. And during this time, she had also stopped paying her rent. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, Judge, she didn't pay her rent either. And you looked at me and said, did you file based on non-payment of rent? And I went, no. So at that time, it was like, all right, well, thank you for the learning opportunity. And I left. Girl, I was mad for about a month. And then I realized, I'm like, I can either be mad and carry a chip on my shoulder about evictions, or I can learn the process, get better at it, and not have that happen again.
So we went to more.
Yeah, so we started buying outside of Shreveport. But no, seriously, though, thank you. You did make me better.
Shreveport still loves your tax dollars.
Yeah.
And so does
Oh, I know. I got
Bossier.
plenty to
Bossier
do.
still loves your tax dollars. Yes, sir.
Talking about lesson learned, I didn't turn my cell phone off in her court one day, and it went off, she sentenced me to 30 days in an electric chair. No, you're the fairest judge I've ever appeared.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I try to take my time. I always let people speak. Sometimes the lessor or the landowner gets a little upset. Everybody has an opportunity to speak. If you cut people off too soon, then they'll be mad at everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much time to give another person a couple of minutes to say what they want to say. The law is the law. So when you finish, I still have to render judgment.
Yeah.
But other people feel better that they have been heard. And that's important to me, that all parties are heard. I want to hear you, I want to hear you, I want to hear whomever. And I let everybody speak. So, yes?
The flip side of that coin is I've also seen it work in favor of the tenant when somebody that I would consider a dirty landlord was taking advantage of somebody blatant. And if I was a judge, I would have told them, get out of here, don't ever come back. But it was
We
just-
can't say that, though.
I wish y'all could have on this people. But they had basically taken this guy's rent payment in cash and held it until he's like, once you satisfy this other stuff, your late fees from the previous month, then we'll apply this, until then we're just gonna hold this. This man has been living in this house for 20 years. He was living there rent-free. These people bought it from the previous owner. And now he's paying $400 a month. And this guy, I truly believed he was on a fixed income of $700 a month. And with this, they were just taking his money and they were pocketing it. And then they had the nerve to file an eviction based on it. Well, luckily, this man kept his handwritten receipt that he got from the management company. That was the only thing that kept him from getting evicted. So if that would have happened, if he would have got evicted that day, I would have probably kicked somebody out to put him in one of my houses. Just because that system would have failed him that day if he didn't have that. So anyway, you got good landlords, you got bad landlords, and you got good and bad tenants.
Yes.
So,
Your Honor?
Yes.
What about partial payments?
I was going to say that. Once he said that, thank you. Great minds think alike. Today is April. The month is April. Today is the tax day, the 15th, right? So everybody's late. They come to you today and they want to pay, well, how much is rent? Somebody give me a number. $500. So they give you $400 today. You have court on Tuesday. Tomorrow, what is going to happen?
If you accept it, then you don't get to go forward with the eviction.
If you accept partial payment, now what I have done, some people are smart, I guess, and they can read my mind, that they come to court and they say, I'm evicting this person, but I received partial payment in March, and I'm trying to evict them for March and April. What's in my mind?
You accepted money.
Because you're here to evict them for March and April. And I asked somebody, are you here? My statement, I cannot grant an eviction for a partial payment. Are you proceeding for March, April, or both? Some people say
April.
Some people say
March.
both. And my next phrase is what?
get out.
Eviction denied. Next case. Then they want, but, no, you can't change it now, because I explained, did I not explain? Did I? Yes or no? Some people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I explained, and some people understood and I explained. if you're proceeding for more, I'm sorry, what's your question, before I forget?
Okay, I've got a couple of examples here.
Yes. So y'all can talk about that later if you like.
Let's say I have my eviction paperwork in, and they drop off a money order at my office for $200.
Yes.
Now, can I bring that to court with me and give it back to them in court? As long as I don't
Yes.
cash it, I'm good to
What
go,
is the
right?
problem though? Yes, you're correct. What is the problem though?
That's in my hand?
No, I said yes.
Okay.
Flip side, what is the problem? Everything you said is correct. But what is the problem? What do you think the court find? What type of cases?
I don't know. You tell me.
They put it in your night box.
Right.
So that means you got it at 5, 6, 7, or who's in the box 5, 6, 7. So before you come, court starts at what time?
I come at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, 2 o'clock, right? 9, 2 o'clock. So that means you came to court and you didn't check your lockbox, I guess.
No,
Not
I mean,
you.
he could bring it to court.
I
with
ha-
him.
No, I told him everything he said was correct. I'm talking
I
about the
haven't checked the
situation.
lockbox, no.
Well, huh?
I haven't checked.
Right. So you come to court. They say that they put it in the lockbox like that they always do. So his situation is right. I'm not having an issue with that. They put it in the lockbox. You come to court, and they say that they paid you, and you said that they did. And they said that they put it in the lockbox, and they left a message, and they told you they put it in the lockbox. So that means you have noticed that it's in the lockbox, right? So you come to court knowing that it's in the lockbox. That means you have the money. So you want me to grant an eviction when you have the money? Is that right? Or you could go to the lockbox like he does, or bring it to court like he
So you
does.
have to go check it. or have
You
someone check
don't
it.
have to do anything.
No.
But you understand what I'm saying? I can't tell you what you have to do.
Right. I can
So
have
if the
someone
tenant
check.
says they've dropped it off and you haven't picked it up or checked to confirm whether it is or is not there, you may believe the tenant has paid and we've accepted as the landlord.
I don't know who to believe.
Right.
Right.
In the case that I was referring to, these individuals text one another. They left a message. So the person said they got the text. So if you got the text, that means you have an idea that it's there. So it's not about me believing whomever. You just told me you got the text. So I can believe you.
So they have to attempt communication to say that there's something there.
In the situation that I'm referring to.
Yeah, okay,
Here's my other
But how
scenario.
does it hurt you
yeah.
if you have a policy or procedure that they've always dropped it in your lockbox?
Yeah.
And they've always done that, and you testify, they testify that this has always happened. They've been late before, but they always put it in the lockbox. You
Why did
know,
you check the lockbox before you came?
how hard is that?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about in situations where there's a apartment complex,
Yeah.
when the person works there, so they have to leave the place to come to court. So they're right there.
So that makes sense.
I'm not talking about landowners and you're handling your own business. My example was an apartment
Professional
complex.
Yeah.
But if you receive the money and you know you're on the oath to tell the truth now. If you receive the money and you know you received it, or you have an idea you received it, I had another case where they would do a direct deposit and it would show up in their account online. I had a case like that. What is the problem with that?
We've accepted the money, unless
Well,
they turn around and give it
Once I
back.
give it back to them, or can I bring the cash to court and hand back to them? That was
Anything
my-
else?
That was my second example.
Part of mine is this question, like.
Now, the question, she said you would love to do that?
No,
The-
no, I sum up the no.
Oh, would anybody would like it automatically deposited in your account consistently? You have a tenant that
Yeah.
transfer
Yeah.
you? Look, my daughter's in school. She wants money, mama call her, needs the money. So I go to my account, right here at my iPad, I transfer it to her account, right? That's a good thing. Maybe not for me, but it's a good thing. You know, you don't have to go to the bank, you have to call the bank. It's 8 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock when she asks me for something that she needs right then, I don't know. But you know, is that a good practice or practice for people? Would you all like to do that?
We
Yeah,
do
we
it,
do.
we do it.
You've heard of Zelle, right?
That's right.
We get Zelle payments from tenants.
Mhm.
That was gonna be my next question, if they make a partial Zelle payment. And then I'm.
Which puts you, so these are the possible concerns.
Right.
If they send you a partial payment, you have accepted it, yes?
It goes in my account.
It automatically goes.
In the situations, in certain situations I'm talking to you about, yes. What he's talking about is automatically goes into your account, correct? It automatically goes. That's how they have it set up. can you see that there are any concerns that you should have? I'm not saying it's not a
Well, I
great
can see
system.
there's a concern, that's what I'm trying to clarify now.
Can we then turn around and reject it or send it
Are
back?
you rejecting it before 9 a.m.?
Yeah.
I would, yes.
Who rejects it before 9 a.m.?
I mean, you
I
can,
don't mean reject, I mean send it back.
I mean, you can turn around and I send them a check, drop it back off,
I
bring a
can-
check to the court, paid to
Yeah,
them.
bring a check made out.
But
today.
people don't do that.
But if we
The
did,
the case that I had, this was done, and the gentleman was telling me that it has they did this type of payment the previous month.
Yeah.
And it turned up that it was NSF. Not check form, but they didn't have good funds in their account when they automatically did the transfer, which is a different thing. Now, the question is it, I mean, it makes things easy, but
Oh, it's more.
what is, well, the question is, should that, and I can't give y'all legal advice, so I'm just trying to figure out how to word this. What does the language say in your documentation relative to that? And what happens is y'all don't have language in your documentation relative to that. Anybody loves me? Anybody loves me right now? Anybody loves me?
but if you go forward with if they go forward with the eviction, because
If you,
they've only made
if
a
you try to
partial
go,
payment,
if you
wait,
try to go forward with the
wait,
eviction.
wait,
Wait, hold on. If you try to go forward with the eviction.
Okay, but they've only made a partial payment,
Mm-hmm.
so therefore they still haven't made a payment. We have a waiver of the 5-day notice in our lease. We can go forward with the eviction for the rest of the non-payment of that rent, can we not?
You have a partial payment.
What if our lease says
Think of it as if they
It
gave you half
depends
of
on what your document, but if they send it to you, you have
You
it.
can immediately file for eviction. Right, you can.
Yeah, but do it
but
again.
just pay them.
That's what you're saying, but you're gonna have something that
And you gotta wait all the free. Well, they might give you that.
then I would be a little
Question?
concerned because you're allowed.
So I don't think that's going
But who wants to change their lease? Who wants to change, how long have you been using your lease? 10 years? Yeah, that's you, in general.
I guess
You know what I'm
so.
saying? How many people gonna change their lease? I'm not saying you should, I can't give you advice. But if anything's happened on on June the 8th, you're gonna have to reconsider.
Yeah.
And how many people do it on their own, or find one online, or hire a lawyer? It's the difference.
So if a tenant wanted to get slick on it, and they say a lot of people around here have been encouraged to give out their bank accounts, say make the deposit here. Somebody wanted to be slick, if I was a tenant, I'd just go slide $5 and be like, partial payment, I got a month.
Or you can schedule it for a transfer. So it shows up on yours. Y'all listening? You can schedule it for a transfer and it shows up on yours. So when you get to court, the tenant can say that I did it, here's the documentation from my bank, pull out their phone, and then what are you gonna say?
We transferred it back, and here's my documentation on
No, you
my
didn't do
phone.
that before court. You didn't do that before court.
But if we did it before court, it would work, right?
What's the answer to that?
Depends on the judge. How about you? Would you accept that?
I don't know if that's enough. How can you, what do you do to send it back? If it, listen, what happens, you're talking about a partial payment. I'm talking about the payment in of itself. I had a case like that. And so what I did, because what happens when you're dealing with banking.
Buddy, thank you. I'll see you next month.
Hey, Chef.
When you're dealing with banking, there is some confirmation and verification that it's in your account. So what I did as a courtesy, in my case, I rescheduled it to come back to court like 2 or 3 days, which is better than you having to refile and get the absolute no. But that's what I did. So that gave that person time to check with their bank and make sure the funds were verified and they were actually there. In this case, the person had done it, I think once or twice before. It said it's there, but it wasn't there. It said it's there, it wasn't there. So that means it gives you the false belief that it's there. And if you return something out of your account, so you probably, if it's a partial payment, then now they have your money. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, you're returning the partial payment, you're not accepting it.
But where's the money coming from that you're returning?
Be out of our account.
So you would have lost your money, I assume.
Well, yeah, but you go forward with the eviction, so you either take the partial payment or you return it.
Yeah, but you're returning money that you didn't receive.
Oh, well, yeah, if it was an automatic and it got rejected, or NCF, or, you know. yeah, I
And see,
understand
this
what
is
you're
what people, I think, are not addressing in their documentation.
I think,
If you're gonna change, you know, it can only happen one time. Say, for instance, you have a tenant that has a $1,200 lease payment, and they tender you online $1,000. So you send it back because you're on your way to court. So you're out of $1,000.
Because they haven't actually deposited into your account.
Or well, you didn't get the verification from your bank. Sometimes in some places, there's a delay. I'm not in the banking, I can't tell you the specifics of that.
Yeah, they can confirm after 3 days.
I know.
Right, that's why I had them come back 3 days later.
With Zelle, it's instantaneous.
I didn't hear you say it again?
I said with Zelle,
Oh.
it's instantaneous, once they
Okay.
transfer the funds.
Mhm. And Cash App?
Yeah.
It's an app. And the funds have to be there, they get your email address and your phone number,
Mhm.
and then my bank account is linked up to those 2 points of documents.
Okay. Next time y'all ask me to speak, can I get some air?
Mm-hmm.
I'm too old for no air. I'm
I'm
already there.
Just sit around.
For the ladies, I'm already there. I got hot on top of hot. I said for the ladies, not the guys. Yes,
If
sir.
somebody has, say, and this is a tenant that is legally and trying to do everything, trust me, I try to work with them as best I can. But if a tenant is just trying to, you know, get over on somebody, because I've heard of people going to eviction court saying, no, judge, I paid, here's my money order, and it's right there. And they'd be willing to give you a receipt. And the landlord's like, I never got anything. So, or if they just holding on to an old rent payment or old money order stuff, how can we defend against that to prove, no, they really haven't paid anything?
The money orders should have a date on, I mean, the receipt should have a date on it.
Sure, yeah.
So
What
I don't
if they
know
say,
that,
well, I got
don't
this
give
2 months ago?
receipts without a date on it.
I'm sorry, just,
Then you said they came in with an old receipt.
yeah, if they
But it
have
should have a
old
date
money
on
order
it.
stuff, yeah, and they can say.
Oh, you mean a
well,
money order stuff?
Yeah.
Not a receipt?
Yeah,
Oh.
because you can buy a money order 2 months from now to use.
When I was practicing, the types of money orders that were permissible in court were those that had the carbon copy to it, not the ones you get from Circle K. So I used to tell my clients to make sure you have, you know, to support what you're doing, make sure you have the one with the carbon copy.
Okay.
It's up to whomever the fact is if they're going to accept that.
Okay.
But, do y'all give out receipts? Do you have a receipt book?
Yes, we do.
So that would cover it. Because in one case, I had somebody to bring their receipt book, because the person did have receipts actually. And when I looked at it, somebody made some changes. That's my phone? Okay, thank you. Oh, it's not emergency. I got my iPad here. If it was my child, she'd have FaceTime. Oh, okay. I see. You're right. Pass it to me, please. If you don't mind. It did show up. No, it's my daughter. Can we go off 1 second, please? Yes, sir. Camera, please.
Bunch.
And I still had more. I still had more and I haven't eaten
Depends on the
yet.
judge.
Yes.
That's okay.
Thank y'all all for coming out. We've got the room for just a little bit longer, so if you feel like standing around networking, shaking some hands, feel free to do that.
But I don't think they're
Aside from that, we will see y'all next month. Drive safe.
Thank you. I haven't eaten.